I didn't find out my son wanted my ranch from a lawyer or a letter. I heard it in a casual sentence said like a fact. By the time I understood what he was planning, other people already believed it. If you've lived through something similar, tell your story in the comments. The grill was going, kids moved between tables, and Daniel stood near the fence with his wife talking the way people do when they think nothing important is being said. I was hauling feed toward the shed when his voice carried over. "It'll be ours," he said. "This place," his wife asked. "The ranch, it's basically set. Retirement plan. Just paperwork left." He said it like a done deal. No pause. No checking who might be listening. Work didn't stop. Buckets still needed filling. Gates still needed checking. Daniel kept talking, listing upgrades he wanted to make, how the land would finally be theirs to manage properly. His wife nodded. Someone laughed nearby. Plates clinked. Nothing was said to him that day. The afternoon ran its course. Cars pulled out one by one. Daniel hugged me before leaving, same as always. A few days later, a pickup rolled up the drive with a logo on the door. 2 men stepped out carrying clipboards and a measuring wheel. Daniel followed them, pointing toward the lower pasture. "Market's strong right now," one of them said. "Exactly," Daniel replied. "That's what I've been telling her." They started walking the boundary. Photos got taken. One of them asked about zoning, and Daniel answered before I could. "Family property," he said. "We've had it for years." A question came my way about water access. Daniel cut in again, talking about long-term value and development options. His voice carried confidence, like he'd already signed something. I walked over and asked one thing. "Who asked you to bring them out here?" Daniel didn't turn right away. When he did, the answer came loose. "Just exploring options," he said. "No big deal. We're family." The men kept measuring. One mentioned pricing per acre. Another asked about titles. Daniel waved it off. "Details," he said. "We're sorting that." A phone buzzed. Daniel checked it and stepped aside, still talking. The agents waited, jotting notes, looking at the land like it was already theirs to sell. I stood there longer than necessary. No raised voices. No argument to point to. Just strangers walking ground they hadn't been invited onto. When Daniel came back, I asked again, slower this time. "You tell them you own it." He shifted his weight. "It's not like that," he said. "You know what I mean." "Eventually." One of the agents glanced between us. Another cleared his throat and asked if there was anything else they should photograph. I said no. The phone started ringing before the dust from the agent's tires had settled. A number I didn't recognize came up first. "This is Mark from Hill Country Realty," the voice said. "I'm calling to confirm ownership on the Hale Ranch." He spoke like the answer was a formality, a box to check before moving ahead. "It isn't for sale," I said. There was a pause, the sound of a keyboard stopping. "So you're the owner? I manage the land?" I said. "That's different." Another pause, longer this time. "I'll need to update our file," Mark said. Daniel told us he had authority. The call ended without an apology. 10 minutes later, another message came in, then another. People who had never needed to know my name were suddenly asking for clarification. By noon, word had made its way through town. At the feed store, a man I'd known for years leaned over the counter. "Heard your boy's taking over," he said. Big step, no question in it, just a statement. At a roadside diner later that day, the waitress mentioned renovations. Someone 2 tables over talked about land values rising. Daniel's name came up twice before the check arrived. Back home, a truck pulled in while I was sorting paperwork. Daniel stepped out, already talking. "You're getting calls, right?" he said. "They're confused." "They'll get used to it," he said. "This is how these things go." A folder landed on the table. Inside were printouts, market comps, projected returns notes from a lender. "This is for the family," he said. "For my kids." The word family carried weight the way he used it. A pause followed, waiting for agreement. "What did you tell the bank?" I asked. "That we're moving forward," he said. "That you're on board." I didn't answer. He took the silence as permission and kept going, talking about timing and responsibility, about how other parents helped their kids get ahead. "You've always said you wanted stability," he added. "This is it." The next call came from Hill Country Realty, again asking for signatures. Another agent emailed asking about access times. A calendar invite followed, already populated with dates and names. I drove to Eleanor Brooks' office without calling first. She looked up from her desk when I walked in. "You look like paperwork is chasing you," she said. She listened while I laid the folder out. Didn't interrupt. Asked for the lease when I finished. She read it once, then again. "You don't own the land," she said. "I know." "This agreement is long-term," she said, tapping the page. "But it's still a lease. What happens if he keeps acting like it's his?" Her answer stayed plain. "Misrepresentation," she said. "At best. At worst, you lose standing if the owner thinks you're complicit." No advice followed, no list of next steps. Just the facts delivered the way Eleanor always did. Back at the ranch, Daniel was on the phone, near the gate. He waved when he saw me, then turned his back, lowering his voice. "They're interested," he said into the phone. "Yes, we can make that work." Dinner that night came with tension served between bites. His wife asked about timelines. Daniel answered with confidence. Numbers were shared. Plans took shape. "You haven't said much," she said to me. "There's nothing to add," I said. Daniel leaned back. "This affects all of us," he said. Silence isn't helpful. The next day, an email arrived from Hill Country Realty. Subject line: site visit confirmation. Daniel's name sat in the sender field, mine listed as copied. Dates, times, a list of attendees, no request, no question. I stared at the screen while another message chimed in, this one from a lender congratulating Daniel on the next phase. The next morning put paperwork ahead of chores. Eleanor's office smelled faintly of toner and old folders. She didn't offer coffee. A stack of files waited on the desk, already pulled. "Your son's been busy," she said. She slid a printout across. A bank pre-qualification letter. Daniel's name on top. The ranch address listed as collateral reference. "That address again," she said. "Used twice." Another page followed. An insurance inquiry. Same address, different company. He told them it was family property, she said. Not a lease. A phone rang on her desk. She ignored it and kept sorting. "This doesn't make him an owner," she said. "But it puts you in a bad spot if it keeps going." My phone buzzed. Daniel's name. I set it face down. Eleanor flipped the lease open and traced a paragraph with her finger. "Third-party use without consent," she said. "That's the line that matters." Another buzz. A text this time. "Agent needs signatures today," Daniel wrote. "They won't wait." Eleanor looked at the screen when it lit again. "He's setting a clock," she said. "That's pressure, not progress." The call she had ignored came back. She answered on speaker. "This is Hill Country Realty," a woman said. "We're finalizing the marketing plan and need confirmation." Eleanor kept her voice level. "Send everything you have," she said. "Do not proceed." The woman hesitated. "Daniel said I know what he said," Eleanor replied. "Send it." The line went dead. Daniel called again before the phone cooled. I answered this time. "They're stalling," he said. "You need to sign." "What did you tell the bank?" I asked. A beat passed. "Enough to move things forward," he said. "That's how this works." "It doesn't," I said. He exhaled sharply. "You're making this harder than it needs to be," he said. "For everyone." The call ended without goodbye. Eleanor gathered the pages into a neat stack. There's another problem, she said. If the owner finds out through someone else, you lose control of the timing. I know the owner, I said. She looked up. Then call him, she said, before a lender does. The number hadn't changed in years. He answered on the second ring. Robert, he said. Been a while. Your land's getting shopped, I said. Silence stretched, not hostile, just measured. By who, he asked. My son, I said. Without permission. He didn't raise his voice. That won't work, he said. Lease is clear, I figured, I said. Send me what you have, he said. I'll review. After the call, Eleanor wrote an email while I watched. Attachments went out. Copies stayed. Understand the risk, she said. He could terminate. I understand, I said. My phone lit again. A calendar invite from Hill Country Realty. Site visit. 2 days out. Daniel listed as host. Eleanor saw it. Decision time, she said. Back at the ranch, Daniel waited near the barn. Phone pressed to his ear. He waved me over, then covered the receiver. They need confirmation, he said. This is moving fast. Not that fast, I said. He rolled his eyes. You're stuck in the old way, he said. Things change. A pickup slowed near the drive and kept going. Another later did the same. Dinner came with documents spread across the table. His wife read numbers aloud. Daniel nodded along, confident already past consent. You'll sign tomorrow, he said to me. That's the plan. No, I said. He set his fork down. Why are you doing this? He asked. After everything. I didn't answer. Plates scraped. The kids left the room. That night brought another email, then a voicemail, then a reminder marked urgent. The following morning, Eleanor forwarded a reply from the owner. He would attend the next site visit. I read it once, then again. No conditions, no threats, just attendance. I typed back a confirmation and sent it before doubt could slow the motion. Daniel called while the message was still in the outbox. They're coming back out, he said. Be ready. I will, I said. He talked about timelines and expectations. I listened without correcting him. The second site visit didn't feel like the others. Trucks arrived closer together, doors opening and shutting with purpose. Daniel stood near the gate with his wife talking fast hands, moving as if guiding an invisible plan forward. The real estate agents gathered a few steps away, phones already out, ready to document progress. The owner arrived last. He parked without ceremony and stepped out, older than the last time I'd seen him, posture still firm. No introductions were needed. His eyes moved across the land first, then settled on the group. Daniel walked toward him, hand extended. Glad you could make it, Daniel said. I'm Daniel. The handshake didn't happen. I know who you are, the owner said. That's part of the problem. The agents exchanged glances. One of them cleared his throat. We're here to finalize measurements and talk next steps, he said. The owner turned to him. Next steps for what he asked. Daniel jumped in. Development, he said. Long-term planning. It's family property. The owner's eyes didn't leave Daniel. Is that what you've been telling people, he asked. Daniel smiled tight. It's how it's always been, he said. We manage it. We live here. My father. Your father leases, the owner said. That's different. The words landed without volume, but the effect showed immediately. One agent stopped typing. Another lowered his phone. Daniel shifted. There must be some confusion, he said. We're just exploring options. The owner reached into his jacket and pulled out a folder. No rush. He opened it and held up a page. Using the address for financing, he said, representing the land as owned, bringing third parties without consent. He looked at Daniel again. That's not exploring, he said. That's violating the agreement. Daniel laughed once sharp. Come on, he said. This is family stuff. We can talk about it privately. The owner shook his head. This isn't private anymore, he said. You made it public. One of the agents stepped back. We didn't know there was a lease issue, he said. We were told you were told wrong, the owner said. And that ends now. Daniel turned toward me. Say something, he said. You know this isn't fair. Nothing came out. There was nothing to add that would change the terms he'd already crossed. The owner closed the folder. I'm terminating the lease, he said. Per Section 7. You'll receive notice today. The words didn't echo. They didn't need to. Daniel's wife stared at him. What does that mean? She asked. It means the owner said that you need to prepare to leave. One of the agents spoke quietly into his phone and walked away. Another gathered his equipment without comment. Daniel stepped closer to the owner. You can't do that, he said. We've invested time. Money. You invested without authority, the owner said. That's on you. Daniel's voice rose. This is my family's home. No, the owner said. It's my land. The exchange ended there. No argument followed. No negotiation surfaced. The owner turned to me. You'll get formal notice by end of day, he said. I expect the property vacated within the timeline outlined. I understand, I said. Daniel stared between us. You knew, he said. You set this up. I didn't stop you, I said. There's a difference. His wife stepped back, hand covering her mouth. The plans she'd been holding slid from her grip and hit the ground. No one picked them up. The owner walked back to his truck. The agents followed, already disengaged, talking about rescheduling elsewhere. A deal dissolved, without raised voices or slammed doors. Daniel stayed where he was, phone pressed to his ear, now pacing in short bursts. This just happened, he said into the call. No, I don't know what to do yet. I walked past him toward the barn. Tools still needed putting away. The day hadn't stopped because the plan had. Behind me, Daniel kept talking, explaining, trying to regain footing through words. His wife stood a few yards away, not joining the call, eyes fixed on the land like it might respond. The paperwork moved faster once the lease termination was issued. Eleanor scheduled a meeting the next morning. No small talk. A folder waited at her chair, already labeled. The notice stands, she said. The owner isn't reconsidering. A conference call followed. The owner joined for 10 minutes, long enough to confirm timelines and expectations. No anger in his voice, no negotiation offered. You'll have 30 days, he said. That's standard. Understood, Eleanor replied. The line disconnected. The meeting ended the same way it began, efficient, procedural. Eleanor slid the folder across. You're not required to intervene, she said. In fact, doing so could complicate things. Phone vibrations interrupted the sentence. Daniel's name appeared again. The call went unanswered. Another followed. Then a message. You blindsided me. Another. This affects the kids. Then I need you to fix this. Eleanor watched the screen light up and dim. Keep everything through counsel, she said. That's your boundary now. Back at the ranch, the pressure changed shape. It didn't come from strangers anymore. It came from people who shared holidays and last names. Daniel's wife showed up that afternoon. She didn't raise her voice. We're scrambling, she said. You could talk to him. At least ask. I won't, I said. She waited for more. None came. Later, Daniel's brother called. You didn't have to go this far, he said. Family handles things differently. This isn't about handling, I said. It's about facts. He sighed like the conversation had disappointed him personally. Dinner came with another call, this one from Daniel's mother. She spoke slowly, careful with every word. "He's falling apart," she said. "You know how he gets?" "I know," I said. Silence followed, heavy but contained. "You've always been the steady one," she added. "That counts for something." The line stayed open. No request came. None was needed. Messages stacked up through the evening. Some accused, others pleaded. A few tried humor, like a softer angle might unlock a door. Each one got the same response, sent once and copied forward. "Please contact my attorney." Daniel didn't stop calling. The tone shifted each time. "You're punishing me. Then I made a mistake. Later you're choosing money over your own son." The phone stayed face down. Work filled the hours. Tools were cleaned. Inventory updated. Tasks that didn't ask questions got done. That night, Eleanor emailed an update. The owner had scheduled a final walkthrough. Documentation would follow. "Still time to step in," she wrote. "But it won't stop the process. It only ties you to it." The choice sat there plain. No dramatic wait, just a fork in procedure. Morning brought another meeting. This one shorter. Eleanor outlined what non-interference looked like. No statements, no calls, no assurances made on Daniel's behalf. "You don't need to justify it," she said. Silence is allowed. On the drive back, Daniel's truck appeared in the mirror, riding close. He followed until the road narrowed, then pulled alongside and waved me down. "You're really going to let this happen?" he said through the window. "It's happening," I said. "I'm not causing it." "You could stop it," he said. One call created it," I said. He stared ahead, jaw tight. "This is who you are now?" he asked. "This is who I've been," I said. The truck sped off. Dust hung for a moment, then cleared. Back at the house, documents from Eleanor waited on the table. Dates circled, steps listed, everything outlined without judgment. Another message arrived while reading. Daniel again. "If you don't step in, I don't know how we come back from this." The words sat there heavy with expectation. The reply stayed short. "Talk to your lawyer." The evening passed without interruption. No calls came after that. Just one email from Eleanor confirming the owner's timeline and next steps. I forwarded it to a folder labeled Closed. The county office smelled like paper and patience. Numbers were called in order. People waited their turn. When our number came up, Eleanor stood first and said my name. The clerk nodded and pulled a file that was already flagged. "This relates to the Hale property," she said. "Former lease," Eleanor corrected. The clerk didn't argue. She flipped through pages, stopped, then flipped back. "There are pre-signed agreements attached," she said. "These weren't recorded properly." She turned the screen slightly so we could see. Daniel's name appeared more than once. Dates lined up before the termination notice. Options contracts, the clerk said. Letters of intent. None of these are valid, but they were submitted. Eleanor asked one question. "Submitted to whom?" Multiple parties, the clerk said. "A lender, an insurance carrier, a development firm." No one raised a voice. No one needed to. A phone call came through before we left the counter. Hill Country Realty this time, asking for clarification on authority and liability. Eleanor answered while we walked. "He never had authority," she said. "You'll want to speak with your counsel." The agent sounded rattled. "He told us I know," Eleanor said. "That's why you're calling now." At the brokerage office, chairs had been rearranged. Files were stacked near the door, ready to be moved. A different agent greeted us, one who hadn't been there before. "We're cleaning this up," she said. "Internally." "What does that mean?" Eleanor asked. "It means we've withdrawn," the agent said, "and we're documenting how this was presented to us." A form slid across the desk requesting confirmation that I hadn't authorized any of it. My name sat at the bottom blank. The pen felt heavier than it should have. The signature went down anyway. Daniel called while the ink dried. "They're saying I misled them," he said. "You need to tell them that wasn't the case." "I don't," I said. "You're letting them paint me like some kind of criminal." "They're writing what happened," I said. Silence followed. Then anger. "You're enjoying this," he said. The call ended before a response could find a place. By afternoon, the pressure had shifted again. Not emotional this time. Administrative. Letters arrived by email from different directions, each outlining next steps and potential exposure. None mentioned jail, all mentioned records. Eleanor forwarded one with a short note. No criminal charges indicated, she wrote. Civil liability possible. Documentation matters. Another call came from a bank's compliance department. Questions stayed specific. "Did you authorize Mr. Hale to represent ownership?" "No." "Were you aware of these submissions?" "No. Thank you." That was it. No lecture, no sympathy. Daniel showed up at the brokerage office while we were still there. He looked smaller somehow, not physically, but in how he stood, shoulders, rounded eyes, darting between people who no longer deferred to him. "This is being blown out of proportion," he said to the agent. "We can fix this." The agent shook her head. "You put us at risk," she said. "That's not something we fix for you." He turned toward me. "Say something," he said again. The room waited. Phones stopped tapping. The answer stayed the same. "There's nothing to add," I said. Eleanor closed her folder. "We're done here," she said. Outside, Daniel followed to the parking lot. "You could have covered for me," he said. "Just once." "That's how it started," I said. He laughed without humor. "You're choosing paperwork over blood." "I'm choosing not to lie," I said. Another call came as he walked away, this one from a development firm, asking for clarification on earlier claims. Eleanor took it, answered cleanly, and ended it without ceremony. By the end of the day, the official notice arrived. Termination confirmed. No extensions, no shared responsibility. The lease was over. The email subject line was plain. No sentiment attached. I forwarded it to Eleanor and archived it. Back at the ranch, work continued in smaller steps. Items packed, equipment labeled. A checklist grew shorter with each task crossed off. Daniel's number stayed silent for once. Messages from others slowed too. People had moved on to the next thing. Scandal has a short shelf life when there's paperwork involved. Another email came in just before dusk. The owner confirming receipt of keys by the end of the week. Simple. Direct. I replied with acknowledgement and put the phone down. The final meeting at Eleanor's office took less than an hour. No debate, no open questions. Documents were stacked in order, each one flagged where a signature was needed. "This closes your involvement," she said, "and this limits future contact." A page slid across the desk. It outlined communication boundaries. Legal plain effective. Everything goes through counsel, she said. If he reaches out directly, you don't respond. The pen moved. Ink dried. A chapter ended without ceremony. Daniel tried anyway. A call came through while I was still in the chair. Eleanor glanced at the screen. "Do you want me to answer?" she asked. "No," I said. She let it ring. The voicemail followed. It stayed unheard. By the time I left the office, another agreement waited in my inbox. Different address, different acreage. The owner had sent terms earlier that week. Clear, modest, honest about limitations. The drive took an hour, long enough to see the land before hearing about it. Fences stood straight. The barn needed work. The house sat back from the road, unpretentious. The owner met me near the gate. "No drama," he said. "That's how I run things." "That works," I said. We walked the property together. He pointed out water access and restrictions. Nothing hidden. Nothing implied. Back at the table, papers came out again. Dates, terms, expectations. Month to month for the first year, he said. If it works, we extend. The signature went down without hesitation. By afternoon, the change was official. New keys, new schedule. No overlap with the old place beyond what still needed moving. Daniel's reputation unraveled quietly. No announcement followed. Agents stopped returning his calls. One lender withdrew interest. Another asked for clarification in writing. People who had leaned in before now stepped back. A cousin called that evening. "He's saying you cut him loose," she said. "I didn't," I said. "He did that." She paused. "We didn't know the whole story," she said. "You do now," I said. The call ended without tension. Facts had a way of flattening arguments. Daniel sent one last message. "We need to talk. Just us." The reply stayed brief. "Contact my attorney." Nothing came back after that. Moving days followed. Boxes labeled, equipment transferred, inventory adjusted to fit a different layout. The work felt familiar enough to settle into quickly. At the new ranch, routines took shape without resistance. The owner checked in once, then left things alone. Boundaries stayed intact. Paperwork from the old place arrived in a final batch. Eleanor reviewed it, sent confirmation, and archived the rest. "That's everything," she said. "You're clear." The word landed without weight. Clear didn't mean healed, it meant unentangled. Daniel's wife stopped by one afternoon while loading tools. "He won't say it," she said. "But he knows he went too far." "I'm not taking sides," I said. "I'm stepping out." She nodded, eyes fixed on the ground. "I wish it hadn't ended like this," she said. "It didn't end," I said. "It changed." No argument followed. She left without asking for more. The last visit to Eleanor's office came a week later. Final confirmations. One folder labeled "closed" slid into a cabinet. "You're done explaining," she said. The door shut behind me. The hallway felt the same as it always had. Outside, the day waited. No urgency attached. No audience left to convince. Back at the new ranch, work picked up where it had paused. A fence post needed replacing. A delivery arrived early. A schedule adjusted itself. Daniel's name didn't come up again. When it did later, it was in the past tense, spoken by others who had moved on. Work settled into a different pattern at the new ranch. The land demanded attention, but not allegiance. Fences needed checking. A pump required adjustment. The owner stopped by once a week, asked a few questions, then left decisions where they belonged. No one called it a fresh start. It was just work continuing somewhere else. News about Daniel arrived without being asked for. A lender pulled out after reviewing documentation. Another asked for revised statements and didn't get them. The brokerage firm filed an internal report and cut ties. A development group sent a formal notice requesting clarification on claims that no longer held. The calls he used to make stopped coming to me. When his name did surface, it came through others, spoken carefully. "He's scrambling," someone said. "He thought it was settled?" said another. I didn't respond. There was nothing useful to add. At a supply store one afternoon, a man I recognized from town nodded. "Sorry about all that," he said. "Rough situation. It's handled," I said. That was enough. Family gatherings changed shape. Smaller, less frequent. Some people avoided eye contact. Others tried to fill gaps with updates I hadn't asked for. Daniel wasn't there. His wife came once alone. She stood near the truck while I loaded feed. "He's dealing with consequences," she said. More than he expected. I figured, I said. "He thought you'd step in eventually." "That assumption cost him," I said. She waited for something else. It didn't come. Back home, evenings followed a simpler rhythm. Meals prepared without planning for extra seats. Paperwork kept to what mattered. Messages answered when necessary. One night an email arrived confirming a weekend climbing course in Arizona. The confirmation number sat at the bottom, ordinary and official. It had been bookmarked months earlier, always postponed. The deposit went through this time. Eleanor called later in the week. Everything is closed, she said. No loose ends? Good, I said. Any regrets, she asked. About not interfering, I said. No. She didn't press further. The climbing course didn't feel symbolic. It was scheduled because the calendar allowed it. Travel arrangements followed. Equipment got checked. Instructions printed and set aside. On the morning of departure, the new ranch ran without pause. Tasks were delegated. Notes left where they belonged. Nothing urgent waited for return. At the trailhead, introductions stayed brief. Names exchanged. Backgrounds left unexamined. No one asked why I was there. The instructor ran through safety protocols. Harnesses checked. Knots adjusted. The group moved forward together, focused on the task at hand. Later, resting between climbs, someone asked what I did for work. Land management, I said. They nodded and looked away, conversation shifting to weather and routes. Back home days later, a message from Daniel sat unopened in the inbox. No subject line, no preview. It stayed there. Life continued without announcement. The ranch owner extended the lease another year. A schedule filled out for the next season. Repairs were planned and completed. At a family gathering months later, Daniel showed up late and left early. Conversation stayed polite. No one brought up the past. No apology came. None was requested. A neighbor asked once if I missed the old place. I did my job there, I said. That's enough. Evenings grew predictable again. Not dull. Predictable in the way routines hold without pressure. Work finished at a reasonable hour. Meals taken without interruption. One afternoon, while sorting receipts, the old lease surfaced in a stack of archived files. The paper looked thinner than it had before. The folder went back into storage without being opened. The phone buzzed with a new message, a reminder for the next climbing session scheduled months out. I added it to the calendar and closed the app. Outside work waited. Not as an obligation, just as something that needed doing.